So I want to tell you about the last 2 days. I went ahead and decided to take down everything from uh, the places that I work for my own reasons. I think that the world has changed, and with regard to licensing and branding, I know people, they're trying to be careful about how their name and their image is put out there. So I went ahead and decided to do that. But I do know that I can share some things without, infringing. So let me tell you how the last 2 days went down and what a great memory those were. So right now it is Tuesday. I take it back. It's Wednesday morning, 12:07 a.m., August 31st. And I'll be quick about this. Yesterday, James Taylor came and played, and I'll tell you how all of this went down. I had no clue that when I walked in that I would be walking into the end of the sound check. And when I saw James for the first time, I was pretty overwhelmed because I've never seen him in concert. And, this is somebody who I picked up so many songs in the early 70s. I don't know when I first heard of James, if it was 72 or 73. I think he kind of got big in 1971. I believe Sweet Baby James was the first big hit, and then I think it was Fire and Rain. I didn't do my homework, but anyway. And then, of course, there's Carolina on My Mind and so many other songs that we do know. And by the time I was in high school in Fort Gibson, so the earlier songs, and especially Blossoms, that was the one that I learned how to play on guitar. Mark Shipp, who he played guitar at camp. They were part of the Belo Horizonte team. And he actually taught me how to pick that out on the guitar. I don't think that I could do it now, although a few years ago when I picked up the guitar, for some reason it came back to me. Recently I wasn't able to do it. But that's okay. I can still play Puff the Magic Dragon. Well, anyway, so this is how it went down. He was finishing up sound check, and I was overwhelmed. I didn't cry. My heart just swelled up. I thought, well, there is somebody that I have really admired, and I do admire his story. I actually watched Oprah Winfrey's, I think it was Super Soul Conversations, and he's pretty upfront about some of the difficult years, and so they were very, very inspiring to me. I had hoped, everybody's hope is that maybe they can meet the artists that they really like, whatnot, but the reality is it's not probably going to happen, especially because of a post-COVID world. A lot of the artists that we really liked, of course, in the 60s, 70s, 80s are now in their 60s, 70s, and 80s. And they are, they're doing their best to stay healthy and be able to perform as long as they can. So, there was a lot of that. The other thing is they have a set list of who they want to, the guest list that can come backstage to see them. So, they really don't bring people back last minute. I did try to get into one show a few months ago because there was somebody that I worked with, but their protocols were so tight that it just wasn't possible. And that, that's going to happen, which is okay. You understand and you want the artist to be safe. So that's that for that. But anyway, I did briefly speak to his brother and his brother's wife. And he was very, very cordial, having worked with him. I think I worked with him, I know 2 times at least, possibly 3 times. And I don't know if he remembered me or not, if he was just being polite. I said I was a girl from Oklahoma. He said, oh, anyway, he was very, very nice. Anyway, and then, I leave everybody alone and go do my job. So yesterday there was a whole lot of setup that needed to be done beforehand, and then my job yesterday, it's been a little bit different each time. So the first night I actually worked on the Truly deck, which is it's on the 4th floor. It's an outdoor deck, and we need to make sure that people are not smoking, that they're having a good experience answering their questions, they're being get everything that they paid for, and within reason, of course. And then I worked at the front door on one of the shows down on the 1st floor, and these doors, I think they fixed them now, but you had to pull these doors open. They have a hydraulic system that kind of pushes back on the door, so they're really even if you slightly pull on them, they're supposed to open naturally, and they really don't. You have to pull a little harder, and then they take over. And what was funny is I would try to shut them, but the fact is, once you opened them and they about halfway, the hydraulics would pick up, and it would stop almost when they were all the way open, and then automatically close. And here I was trying to close them, and I was thinking, why won't these doors close? Until I finally figured out they're doing them automatically. So anyway, they got those fixed, so they're much easier to open and close. And the patrons have been nice. I really haven't had any difficulties, but I know that those things will happen because that's just the way it is. And we do serve alcohol and liquor, and so we want people to be safe. And all of there are alcohol awareness people who constantly monitor the facilities to make sure that people are safe, which is very good. And then of course we want to make sure that those who need accessibility are able to to find the accommodations. There are some, as there are with things rolling out, there's still some things to be worked through, but overall the word has really been good from people, from the acoustics to the staff to everything. And those glitches will eventually be worked out, and I'm sure that there'll be some new ones down the road. That's just the nature of the business. So it's always in flux. So anyway, the show was wonderful last night, and of course all my favorites are played. But I'll tell you something. I think Up on a Roof has become my favorite. I don't know why, and this is kind of the history. When we were in Brazil, we had Richard Anthony records. He was a French singer. I think he was in his 20s in the 1960s. In fact, my brother got his middle name from Richard Anthony. His first name, Richard, came from my father, who's Richard Flint. And so Richard Anthony sang Up on a Roof. I think Carole King wrote that song, and I loved his rendition. And then I later heard James Taylor cover it. I think it was in the 80s when I heard his cover. So here's how James has followed me, or I followed him. So in Brazil, definitely, when I learned how to play the guitar, and at camp, and then of course listening to some of the tunes, and in Fort Gibson, everybody was pretty big James Taylor fans. And then in college and in grad school, he still was going pretty strong with a lot of different songs. And so then in the 90s, he was always reinventing himself. He never really got out of the business. I think he gave himself a little bit of time to rest, but he would typically use those times, is my understanding, to think of either go in a new direction or start writing new music. And so he did play some new things. And one of my favorite songs, I'll have to upload it, is, I think it's called Angels at Fenway. And it's about the 2004, when the Boston Red Sox finally won their first World Series in over 80 years, And it's great. And of course, everybody goes wild during that song. And also during Sweet Baby Dreams, So was a turnpike from Stockbridge to Boston. I wish I had recorded. I was actually in the venue when he sang that part, and I didn't have my phone out to record how the whole crowd goes wild. Anyway, so it was great last night. And today I got there, I was, told that they could use me early, so I was able to work early, and I got there and I had no idea about the treat that was in store. So I got to help set up chairs and organize some of their portable chairs. They take them out for standing room only, and then, and there's room for 2,500 chairs, and then there are 2,500 seats in the lower balcony, which is called the curve, and then the top balcony, which is called the balcony. So while I was setting up, I was working with the manager, the house manager, and guess what? I got to hear the whole sound check. And I was so busy working, I think I only turned around a couple of times for about 5 seconds. And it was the best background music anyone could have. So I sang along to the tunes, and I could sing to the top of my lungs because nobody could hear me. And it was wonderful. And I didn't really talk to anybody. I tried to make a little joke with the sound man, and it flopped. But he was very gracious. I could tell behind it, he had his mask on. I could tell behind his eyes he laughed. I won't even tell you what it was. It was so corny. But anyway, I could tell that he got a little amused. Anyway, he was very patient. He was very sweet. And so, I didn't make any eye contact with any of the musicians. For me, it's like, that's their time. They are there to think about the music and plan the music, and I am invisible. I'm just there setting up and making sure that everything is great. All right, so then that was the big treat. All right, so then the show started, and I met some amazing people. There were some people that needed some special help, and to be able to help them resolve those issues was such a delight. And then there are some other challenges that we did our best to work through, and I believe that the people were satisfied. Hopefully they were satisfied with the service that they got. But I've got to tell you, the management there, they are very, very well trained in what they do, and very gracious to all of the patrons. They do their best to listen to everybody, to whatever it is that people need, and help them, resolve any issue that would help them enjoy the show better. So I've got to tell you that, last night and tonight was magical. And a lot of it is just my coworkers they're phenomenal. They truly, truly are. And I really like working. I would much rather be doing what I'm doing than sitting and watching the show. As much as I love it, and I loved watching parts when I could, what I loved was helping the patrons walk around and help them get settled or whatever it is that they need, and working with my coworkers. And I have not been given a radio yet, which is fine. A lot of other people are, and I find them and they do things, and then I'm free. I don't have all of the paraphernalia. And then, at some point, the radios they're supposed to be distributed around different people. And so if I don't get them, that's fine. If I do, it'll be fine too. So, that's it. It was a night to remember, and I thank you very much for putting up with my hair. Again, I have plans for it. Like I said, I'm not quite ready. Oh, and I will say, there was someone who came last night, and they got very close to my hair, and they came up to about my nose, and they said, "I really like your hair." And I said, I need to get it cut. And they said, "Well, I'm a hairdresser, and you look great in a pixie." I thought that's what I tried to do, but I ended up with this John Cusack looking thing. John Cusack, I love you. I love your hair. Actually, it's not on this side. It's doing a little bit of what it used to do back in the 80s, I think, or 90s or whatever. You know what I'm talking about. It looks great on John, and maybe it looks okay on me. And all right, I'll leave it at that. Thank you for joining me, and I'm going to bed. I've got a big day tomorrow, and I'll see you around the corner. Bye-bye.